I sometimes think about who came up with the name economy class syndrome and why. Isn't deep vein thrombosis a scary enough name for a condition that's caused by periods of immobility on long-haul flights? When you printed economy on our boarding cards, you already said something about the state of our finances. Why did you have to name a medical condition after us? And I wonder if there's a business class syndrome as well. Maybe it's the trauma caused by being addressed with the wrong name by cabin crew. But anyway, there's no escaping economy class syndrome when you fly, economy class, on a long-haul flight. There are actually cards in every seat pocket that describe how serious it is. So I was thankful that I had a stopover in Abu Dhabi on my way to the US last year. At least the airport would have those nice lounging seats where you can relax, stretch a bit, and hopefully catch some sleep before your next flight. But this morning as I walked into Abu Dhabi, every place was full. And I soon found out that there had been some serious runway closures and some major flight delays because of this. So obviously all of the good seats were taken. So I decided to go to my gate, wait for the flight. And although the flight to Chicago wasn't leaving for 3 more hours, even the gate was starting to fill up. But I saw a seat in one of the back rows, so I rushed towards it. And as I was settling in, the man to my left smiled. The seat next to him had a lady's handbag and a jacket on it, his wife's, I presumed. And both of us knew that conversation was inevitable. I had already narrowed him down to either an NRI college professor or a bureaucrat from Delhi. So, what do you do? He asked me, so I answered. I asked him the same question. He was a surgeon. So now I was thinking, and I didn't catch an accent at all, so the NRI bit was ruled out. Now I'm thinking he's possibly from Chandigarh. So he asked me, are you based in Lahore? I said, no, I'm based in New Delhi. How about you? I'm based in Lahore. So this was early last year, and intolerance was not in the running for word of the year. But I was very accepting of other cultures. I always have been, I like to think. So the realization that the guy I had started talking to was from Pakistan was not an unpleasant realization. If anything, it was an exciting prospect of an interesting conversation. So I was a little surprised that suddenly I started to feel awkward, and I wasn't sure what this feeling was. And then I realized what it was. An app had come on in my brain and had started to filter topics based on, what are safe things to talk about, what may be difficult, what should not be brought up at all. So, for example, avoid politics. Cricket might be safe, but stay away from match fixing. Definitely bring up Manto and Faiz. So, but Dr. Iqbal was not working on any lists. He just broke into Urdu with a disarming smile, and he said, "Waise mulk to hamare ek hi hain." So he was going to New Orleans with his wife. I learned an orthopedic surgery conference and also a little vacation. And he seemed very well informed about Gurgaon. The growth story about the Indian IT industry and everything. And although he was well informed and well read in general, it was history that looked like Dr. Iqbal's favorite subject. So he started to tell me about Sir Ganga Ram. And I confessed, I only know the name because of the hospital in Delhi. Yeah, exactly. So he said, do you know he was one of the great sons of Lahore? And he was actually an engineer who made a fortune out of designing irrigation systems, and then gave most of it away. He did it before philanthropy was cool. And then he told me a very ironical tale about a mob in Lahore at the time of partition that was trying to damage or deface Sir Ganga Ram's statue in Lahore. And when the police tried to stop them, a man got hurt, and someone in the mob shouted, "Let's take him to Ganga Ram Hospital." So, now what this story had done was that it had brought us to the partition. And there was no getting around it. I was getting alerts in my brain. There were caution messages appearing. This conversation can get difficult. Do you want to continue? Yes. So Dr. Iqbal spent the next few minutes explaining to me his position on partition. And he said, at least he believed that the British were more responsible than history had made them out to be. He said they were largely to be blamed for the aftermath. And I asked him, where his opinions were based on, and he told me about the books he'd been reading. And he was actually emailing me the name of some of the books that I must read, and they are not well known but must read books, when his wife returned to her seat by his side. And he left her to her phone for a while, but soon, I guess just because of the evident connection that Dr. Iqbal and I had by this time, he realized an introduction was necessary. So he told her, this is Mr. Rathore. She said, from Lahore? No, he's from India, from New Delhi, this great suburb called Gurgaon. I showed you pictures, remember? So she smiled at me again, very politely, cheerfully almost. She said, are you a Muslim? I was a little surprised by the directness of the question, so I shook my head. And Dr. Iqbal tried to hide his embarrassment. He said, actually there are people in Lahore who have a last name very similar to yours. That's why she's asking, I'm sure. She returned to her phone and he turned to Bollywood. He said, "Filmeं badi kamal ki hoti hain aapki." And on a recent trip to Karachi, he'd gone to watch Dhoom 3 with a friend at a mall that was playing the film round the clock. And he said the only tickets we could find were for a midnight to 3 a.m. show. And he went on, "Aap yakeen nahi karenge, jab hum bahar nikle, to there were people queued up to watch a 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. show." So the app in my brain was still working, but very slowly now. I was ignoring most of the alerts. And I think the last one I'd gotten was, it might be best to not bring up any military connections in the family or any wars. But Dr. Iqbal was about to say something that finally stopped the app. We were talking about Islamabad, and he was describing the architecture and the wide roads. And so I asked him, how far is it from Lahore? He said, it's not too far. It's a very pleasant drive. आप जब आएंगे तो हम ले चलेंगे आपको. He just said it like that. When you're over, we'll drive there one morning. As if it was only a matter of time before I would be in Lahore, staying at his house, and we'd make a day trip to Lahore. The way he spoke reminded me of summer holidays spent at my aunt's house. My cousins would say, of course you'll stay with us for a month. We talked for another hour, and I'm sure we discussed Manto and Fairs and cricket before they started boarding our flight. But the one moment that has stayed with me is when he said, "Aap jo aayenge." And then on the flight, I was thinking, maybe there's a good side to economy class syndrome as well. When you share an armrest with someone for an extended period, crossing time zones over box meals, sometimes even a little warmth is enough to forge a kinship. I don't know if I will be in Lahore, but at least I don't have to worry about where to stay. Thank you.